after a long rain delay, we're ready to go with heat race action here the night before the Kings Royal, featuring the Pennzoil World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Heat race number 1 lines up like this. The 2B of Steve Seaver and Johnny Herrera in the 47. Ed Lynch Jr. and Danny Lasowski in row number 2. Row number 3 finds Dave Blaney and Steve Kinzer, your fast qualifier this evening. Kevin Huntley and Randy Kinzer in row number 4. Todd Kane alongside of Terry McCarl in the 5th row. Then it's Brian Ellenberger, Kent Walters, and Van Gurley Jr. scheduled to start 13th. Pace vehicles pull to the infield now. Look for a start at the chalk stripe in turn number 4. Steve Seaver and Johnny Herrera pacing the field through turns 3 and 4. Green flag flies and heat race number 1 is underway. Johnny Herrera out to the early lead. Steve Kinzer making the move in the Quaker State number 11. Dives down to the bottom of the track. Runs alongside of Danny Lasowski out of turn number 2. Side by side down the back straightaway. Lasowski and Steve Kinzer battling for 3rd spot. Now Steve Kinzer slides up in front of Lasowski. Takes 3rd as they complete the 1st lap. Herrera out in front, Steve Seaver 2nd. Steve Kinzer 3rd. The battle for the 4th and final transfer spot now between Danny Lasowski and Dave Blaney in the Viver in number 10. Blaney hauls the 10 up to the high side. Now Diamond's off the corner trying to get back down around Lasowski. Meanwhile, Steve Kinzer closing in on Steve Seaver for 2nd. Dave Blaney right up against the wall in turns number 1 and 2. Right in behind Danny Lasowski down the back straightaway. Lasowski working the middle of the Speedway. Dave Blaney off the top of corner number 4 takes over the 4th and final transfer spot. Steve Kinzer still trying to reel in Steve Seaver now in a battle for 2nd. Seaver working the middle of the Speedway, so is Steve Kinzer. They come off of corner number 4, but still about 2 car lengths separate those 2 drivers. Kinzer getting a grip on the bottom of turns 1 and 2. Now down the back straightaway, up close to the wall, entering turn number 3. It's still Herrera, Seaver, Steve Kinzer, and Dave Blaney rounding out the top 4. Danny Lasowski runs 5th. Ed Lynch Jr. is back in 6th. Now Dave Blaney perhaps closing a bit on Steve Kinzer as they race in through turns 3 and 4. Johnny Herrera way out in front of heat race number 1. Blaney looks to the bottom side of turns 1 and 2 in a battle with Steve Kinzer. Kinzer pulls away down the back straightaway. White flag waving this time by Johnny Herrera out in front in the Casey's General Stores 47, nearly a half a lap ahead. Off of corner number 4 puts Brian Ellenberger a lap down. Johnny Herrera picks up the win in heat race number 1. Steve Seaver comes home 2nd in the 2B. Steve Kinzer 3rd. Dave Blaney nails down the 4th and final transfer spot. Danny Lasowski crosses the stripe in 5th, followed by Ed Lynch Jr., Kent Walters, Brian Ellenberger, Kevin Huntley, Terry McCarl, and Van Gurley Jr. Johnny Herrera out of Tempe, Arizona in the Casey's General Stores Strange Performance 47, the winner of heat race number 1 the night before the Kings Royal. Heat race number 2 on the Speedway, Dale Blaney and Craig Delansky in row number 1, Jeff Shepard in the 7TW of Jeff Swindell in the 2nd row, Stevie Smith alongside Gary Brazier in row number 3. Then it's Danny Wood, Gus Wasson, Dave Freed, Tim Allison, Terry Pletch, Alan Schmidt, and Sarah Fisher. 8 laps in distance. Again, only the top 4 finishers transfer to the A main. Dale Blaney and Craig Delansky bring the field out of turn number 4. The green flag waves and the race is underway. Jeff Swindell on the outside of the Speedway in the 7TW, right alongside Dale Blaney battling for 2nd. Craig Delansky out in front. Delansky, a new ride this weekend. Fred Boso, number 7. He's in control of heat race number 1. Working through turns 1 and 2. Jeff Shepard in the 41, battling Tim Allison in car number 11 back in the pack. Shepard working the outside of the Speedway, now tries to duck inside of Tim Allison through turns 3 and 4. Battle for 5th between Dale Blaney, Gary Brazier, and Stevie Smith. Gary Brazier right up alongside the Hughes wheel and axle number 94 as they enter turns number 3 and 4. Stevie Smith trying to close the distance as well. Meanwhile, Jeff Shepard and Tim Allison still battling back in the pack. Through turns 3 and 4, battle for the final transfer spot between Dale Blaney and Gary Brazier. Blaney working right around the middle, up against the cushion. Gary Brazier still trying to follow him down the back straightaway. Blaney pulling away just a bit. Very fast surface here at Eldora Speedway this weekend after the rain delay. It's still Craig Delansky out in front of the Havilland Construction number 7B. Delansky out of Elk River, Minnesota, a regular at the Knoxville Raceway up until just a couple of weeks ago. Jeff Swindell with the Ford Power down to the ground, running second. Dale Blaney third, and the final transfer spot now being contested between Gary Brazier and Stevie Smith. Through turns 3 and 4, now down the front straightaway. Greg Delansky picks up the win in heat race number 2. Jeff Swindell crosses the stripe second. Dale Blaney third, and Gary Brazier grabs the 4th and final transfer spot. Stevie Smith finishes 5th. He'll have to go to the B main. Tim Allison 6th. Jeff Shepard 7th. Danny Wood 8th. Dave Freed 9th. And Alan Schmidt, Terry Pletch, Gus Wasson, and Sarah Fisher. Craig Delansky, the winner of heat race number 2 at Eldora Speedway. Starter Doug Clark shows the field the furled green flag. We go racing the next time out of turn number 4, heat race number 3. Tim Schaefer and Donnie Schatz, the 55 and 15 in row number 1. Lance Blevins alongside Joe Gertie in the second row. Jack Haudenschild starts 5th next to Sammy Swindell. Then Byron Reed and Jeremy Minton in row 4. Bobby Allen, John Bankston, Raven Shank, and Jerry Hart round out the field. Tim Schaefer on the inside. Current Rookie of the Year points leader Donnie Schatz on the outside of row number 1. Top 4 finishers move on to the A main this evening. Doug Clark waves the green flag for heat race number 3. Tim Schaefer out to the early lead. Donnie Schatz, however, on the high side of the speedway, battling with Schaefer out of corner number 2. Schatz grabs the lead. Here comes Sammy Swindell on the outside of the speedway with a move around Joe Gertie to take third. Donnie Schatz, Tim Schaefer, Sammy Swindell, and Joe Gertie in the final transfer spot. Jack Haudenschild battling with Lance Blevins for 5th. Blevins on the top side. Haudenschild working the bottom. Haudenschild following the Sitco 21 through turns 3 and 4. Drifts up to the high side out of corner number 4. Can't make the pass down the front straightaway. Meanwhile, it's still Schatz, Tim Schaefer, and Sammy Swindell, your top 3. Swindell now looking to the bottom side of Tim Schaefer in turn number 4. Can't make a pass. Sammy Swindell in the channel lock, gambler number 1. Pulls even with Tim Schaefer down the back straightaway. Swindell forges ahead, entering turn number 3. Donnie Schatz still way out in front of heat race number 3. Joe Gertie holding down the final transfer spot. Gertie trying to close in on Tim Schaefer. Donnie Schatz, the pilot out of North Dakota, crosses the stripe with about a 15-car length advantage over Sammy Swindell. Donnie Schatz working his way around the high bank half mile here at Eldora Speedway. Sammy Swindell closing up in the channel lock, gambler number 1. Swindell, your 3rd fastest qualifier here this evening. Works right through the middle of the speedway. Tim Schaefer still 3rd. Joe Gertie with the final transfer spot. Lap traffic now coming into play. Jerry Hart goes 1 lap down to race leader Donnie Schatz. Sammy Swindell gets hung up just for a second. Schatz comes off of corner number 4, picks up the win in the heat race. Sammy Swindell will finish 2nd. Tim Schaefer 3rd. Joe Gertie holds on to 4th in the final transfer spot. Lance Blevins finishes 5th. Jack Haudenschild 6th. He'll have to go to the B main. Then Jeremy Minton, Raymond Shank, John Bankston, Jerry Hart, Byron Reed, and Bobby Allen. Pennzoil World of Outlaws rookie leader Donnie Schatz picks up the win in heat race number 3 at the night before the King's Royal. Heat race number 4 about to take the green flag. Brian Carlson alongside Paul McMahon in row number 1. Row number 2 features Danny Smith and Kenny Jacobs. Then it's Greg Hodnett and Mark Kinzer in row number 3. Keith Kaufman and Brian Paulus in the 4th row. Rick Zeal and Brian Crisp in row number 5. And Chris Fraley and Mallory Armfield rounding out the field. Brian Carlson and Paul McMahon now pick up the pace at the front of the field. Through turn 3 and into turn number 4. Doug Clark waves the green flag and the heat race is underway. McMahon out to the early lead. Brian Carlson didn't get a very good start there. Danny Smith working to the outside of Carlson. A little bit of contact there in turns number 1 and 2. 3 wide out of the corner with Keith Kaufman on the bottom. Danny Smith getting the position in the middle. Out in front of Paul McMahon. Kenny Jacobs coming up to challenge him in the 92. Jacobs a little sideways, nearly touches Paul McMahon's tail tank at the exit of the corner. That allows Mark Kinzer to close in. Kinzer and the Wordkin Williams Durst by them on the inside of the speedway, battling with Kenny Jacobs for 2nd. Greg number 75. Lap traffic coming into play now. Mallory Armfield goes a lap down. Greg Hodnett holding on to the fourth and final transfer spot in the Michelle Kelly and Associates number 11H. Kenny Jacobs still holding off Mark Kinzer in the battle for second. White flag flies. It's McMahon with a 10-car length advantage down the back straightaway. The Rookie of the Year contender about to pick up the heat race victory at Eldora. Paul McMahon grabs the win. Side by side across the stripe for second. Very close there. Looks like it's going to be Mark Kinzer taking the advantage off of corner number 4, picking up second. Kenny Jacobs third. Greg Hodnett in the fourth and final transfer spot. Danny Smith comes home fifth, followed by Keith Kaufman, Rick Zeal, Brian Carlson, Brian Paulus, Brian Crisp, Chris Fraley, and Mallory Armfield. So the Mopar 75 of Paul McMahon, your winner of heat race number 4. Fifth and final heat race on the track right now. Art Wen in the 77W alongside Larry Neighbors in row number 1. Dean Jacobs and Joey Saldana make up row number 2. Frankie Kerr and Andy Hillenberg in the third row. Jason Dukes and Dion Hindy in row number 4, followed by Greg Wilson, Chris Gurley, and Andy McKisson. Art Went and Larry Neighbors now picking up the pace. Side by side to the chalk stripe, the green flag flies. Larry Neighbors out to the early lead. Joey Saldana follows him into second. Here comes Dean Jacobs on the outside of the speedway to grab third. Hillenberg moving up to challenge Art Went down the back straightaway. That's the battle for the fourth and final transfer spot. Art Went on the bottom. Andy Hillenberg comes off the top of the corner. Now tries to look to the inside of Art Went, entering turn number 1. Hillenberg and Art Went side by side off of corner number 2 and down the back straightaway. Very close racing there. Hillenberg goes back up to the top side now. A battle for the final transfer spot in the final heat race. Hillenberg with an outside move down the front straightaway and takes over fourth. Here comes Frankie Kerr as Art Went slows in corner number 2. Kerr goes by into fifth. Meanwhile, out in front of the pack, it's Larry Neighbors, Joey Saldana, Dean Jacobs, Andy Hillenberg running fourth now. Hillenberg in the STP, John Krister trucking Deuce, trying to reel in the Frigidaire 1F of Dean Jacobs. Jacobs working the cushion off of corner number 4, as does Hillenberg. Frankie Kerr in fifth. He needs to get a move on. Needs to pass Hillenberg to grab a final transfer spot. Dion Hindy back in the pack, battling it out with Jason Dukes. And up in front of the pack, it's Larry Neighbors, Joey Saldana closing in the Balderson Dodge Stealth number 51. Saldana on the bottom of the speedway. Now Larry Neighbors on the top, side by side for a bit there off of turn number 4. Neighbors working the cushion. Joey Saldana on the bottom of the speedway. Saldana looks to the inside as they enter turn number 3. A battle for the lead in heat race number 5. Larry Neighbors still holds on to the spot at the stripe. White flag has waved. Whose race is it? Side by side down the back straightaway. Joey Saldana forges ahead into turn number 3. Slides up, tries to take the groove away from Larry Neighbors, and Joey Saldana picks up the win. Larry Neighbors crosses the stripe in second. Dean Jacobs third. Andy Hillenberg holds on to the final transfer spot. Then it's Frankie Kerr, Art Went, Dion Hindy, Jason Dukes, Greg Wilson, Chris Gurley, Andy McKisson, and Tyler Walker. Joey Saldana in the Balderson Dodge Stealth Chassis number 51 picks up the final heat race victory at the night before the Kings Royal from the Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio. C-Main action ready to go. Jason Dukes and Ricky Zeal on the front row as the green flag flies. Jason Dukes out the early lead. New Mexico's Ricky Zeal running second. Battle for third place now. Brian Ellenberger forges ahead of Brian Crisp as they work through turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway and into turns number 3 and 4. On the inside of the speedway, making the move, it's Raymond Shank trying to get around Chris Fraley. Fraley working the top side of the speedway. Shank in the middle, and Fraley forges ahead. Andy McKisson nearly into the wall there in turns number 1 and 2. He keeps it underway. Kent Walters gets by McKisson, entering turns number 3 and 4. John Bankston working the top side of the speedway, the Mobile 1, number 8. Bankston out of Beaumont, Texas, making the long haul to race in the C-Main here at Eldora this evening. Ricky Zeal out of Las Cruces, New Mexico, working the cushion through turns number 3 and 4 here in the C-Main. Meanwhile, Jason Dukes is checking out in front of the field. Chris Brantley, the chauffeur out of Portsmouth, Ohio, working the cushion. Brian Crisp right behind him in car number 1C. Ricky Zeal trying to catch up with race leader Jason Dukes. Maybe a puff of smoke out of Dukes' car as he works through turns 1 and 2. Southern New Mexico Speedway track champion Ricky Zeal now reeling in the race leader as they put Jerry Hart a lap down on the back straightaway. Zeal on the very bottom of the speedway. Dukes working lap traffic, puts John Bankston a lap down, and we do see some smoke coming out of the 99D. Remember, only the top 2 cars will transfer to the B main here this evening. Brian Ellenberger running third, but now Chris Brantley gets around him on the top side in turns number 1 and 2. Off of quarter number 4, Ricky Zeal reeling in Jason Dukes, but not enough time left. Jason Dukes, the winner of the C main. Rick Zeal comes home second. Chris Brantley third. Brian Ellenberger fourth, followed by Brian Crisp, Raymond Shank, Kent Walters, Andy McKisson, John Bankston, and Jerry Hart. Jason Dukes, a close winner over Ricky Zeal in the C main. Viver and Dash on the speedway now for the Pennzoil World of Outlaws. These are the fastest 8 qualifiers who transferred to the A through their heat races. The way they finish the Viver and Dash is the way we line up the top 4 rows of our A main later on this evening. Mark Kinzer alongside Sammy Swindell in row number 1, Gary Brazier and Steve Kinzer in row number 2, Andy Hillenberg and Dave Blaney in the 3rd row, and Greg Hodnett and Jeff Swindell round out the field. Mark Kinzer and Sammy Swindell set the pace as they reach the straight's in turn number 4 and the green flag flies. Sammy Swindell and Mark Kinzer side by side into the first corner. Swindell forges ahead. Steve Kinzer looking to get by Mark Kinzer for second, but can't do it there in turns number 1 and 2. Dave Blaney, the Buckeye Bullet in the Viver in number 10 on the move on the outside of the speedway. He's battling with Steve Kinzer for third. Blaney to the inside, Steve Kinzer on the outside. Look at the front wing on Dave Blaney's car, a little bit askew as he goes down the back straightaway. A little bit of handling problems perhaps for Blaney because of the front wing problem. Andy Hillenberg catching him in turns number 1 and 2. Hillenberg now looks to the bottom side of turns number 3 and 4. Can't get by Blaney there. Blaney holding on, doing a fine job with a bent nose wing as they race down the back straightaway here at Eldora Speedway. Hillenberg once again looks to the inside in turns number 3 and 4. Blaney holds him off of the corner. Sammy Swindell way out in front of the Viver and Dash through turns 3 and 4. Picking up the win in the Viver and Dash, Sammy Swindell in the Channel Lock Gambler number 1. Mark Kinzer comes home second. Steve Kinzer third. Dave Blaney holds off Andy Hillenberg for fourth. Gary Brazier finishes 6th. Greg Hodnett 7th, and Jeff Swindell rounds out the field. Sammy Swindell will be starting on the pole of our Pennzoil World of Outlaws A main event here at Eldora this evening. He's your winner of the Viver and Dash. B main action underway here at Eldora Speedway. Danny Lasowski out to the early lead. Here comes Stevie Smith to challenge him down the back straightaway. Stevie Smith in the Mac Tools Smart Racing Engines number 19 on the bottom of the speedway. Battling it out for the lead with Danny Lasowski. Jack Hottenchild runs third, and Frankie Kerr holds down the final transfer spot. Only 4 cars go to the A main. The rest load them up. Stevie Smith working the bottom of the speedway. Danny the Dude Lasowski on the top. Lasowski still holds on to the lead. Jack Hottenchild closing in the Pennzoil 22. Stevie Smith on the bottom of Lasowski, side by side down the back straightaway and into corner number 3. Lasowski drifts a little high off the corner. Could be the advantage Stevie Smith needs, but not at that time. Field stringing out around the high bank half mile here at Eldora Speedway. Lasowski still holding the advantage in the Conwest Freight Express number 1W. Jack Hottenchild working the cushion out of turn number 4. Stevie Smith still holding down to the bottom of the speedway. He's going to try to get around the Dude. Stevie Smith making the traction at the bottom of the speedway. Not many cars being able to hold the speed down at the bottom of the corners. Smith fighting it out with Dover, Missouri's Danny Lasowski as a car slowing on the back straightaway. We stay green, however, Stevie Smith with an inside move up a corner number 4, barely ahead of the stripe. Smith shows Lasowski a wheel entering turn number 1 and takes the lead. Lasowski second, Jack Hodenschild still running third. Hodenschild now will come up to try to challenge Lasowski for second as Stevie Smith is pulling away in the number 19. Hodenschild fighting the beast with his Pennzoil number 22 around the high bank half mile here at Eldora, doing his best to get by the Conwest Freight Express 1W. An inside move in turns 3 and 4, and Hodenschild takes over second. Frankie Kerr still holds on to the final transfer spot here. Laps winding down in the B main at Eldora Speedway. It's Stevie Smith, Jack Hodenschild, Danny Lasowski, and Frankie Kerr, your top 4. Lasowski still working the cushion through 1 and 2 and into turns 3 and 4. Meanwhile, race leader Stevie Smith encountering some lap traffic puts Dion Hindi a lap down as they enter turn number 1. Frankie Kerr closing in a bit on Danny Lasowski. That's a battle for third and fourth. Lasowski now down to the bottom in turns number 3 and 4. White flag waves. Stevie Smith's got less than a half a mile to go. Drifts up, catches the cushion off at turn number 4, and Stevie Smith picks up the win in the B main. Jack Hodenschild comes home second, Danny Lasowski third, the fourth and final transfer spot to Frankie Kerr. Ed Lynch Jr. crosses the stripe in fifth, then it's Jeff Shepard, Danny Smith, Lance Blevins, Danny Wood, Art Wendt, Dion Hindi, Jeremy Minton, Keith Kaufman, Jason Dukes, Brian Carlson, Byron Reed, Kevin Huntley, and Brian Paulus. And Stevie Smith is victorious in the B main in the Mac Tools Smart Racing Engines number 19. He gains a starting spot in the A main. The Pennzoil World of Outlaws sprint cars off of turn number 4 in the 4 wide. Salute to the fans here at Eldora Speedway the night before the Kings Royal, which thanks to a rain delay has become the morning of the Kings Royal. Set to go for 30 laps of green flag racing, lining up this way. Starting on the pole, the Viver and Dash winner Sammy Swindell. Alongside of him, Mark Kinzer in the 5M. 14-time Outlaw champion Steve Kinzer sits alongside Dave Blaney in row number 2, Andy Hillenberg and Gary Brazier in row number 3, Greg Hodnett alongside of Jeff Swindell in the 4th row. Stevie Smith starts 9th, Jack Hodenschild in 10th. Row number 6 finds Frankie Kerr and Danny Lasowski, Joe Gertie and Kenny Jacobs in row number 7. Joey Saldana in car 51 and Dean Jacobs in the 1F make up row number 8. Row number 9 features Johnny Herrera and Craig Delansky. Donnie Schatz and Paul McMahon, the 2 leading rookie contenders with the Pennzoil World of Outlaws in row 10. Steve Seaver and Dale Blaney in row number 11. And Ed Lynch Jr. and Tim Schaefer round out the field. Swindell and Mark Kinzer bring them down to the stripe. The green flag waves and the A main is underway. Sammy Swindell jumps out to the early lead. Look at Dave Blaney on the top side of the speedway trying to make up ground up there. Field races through turns 1 and 2 cleanly. Down the backstretch and into 3 and 4. It's Sammy Swindell out front. Dave Blaney with a top side move around Mark Kinzer to take over second. The Buckeye Bullet now sets his sights on Sammy Swindell as they hurtle down the back straightaway. Sammy Swindell working right through the middle of the corner. Dave Blaney drifting up, hits the cushion. Steve Kinzer around Andy Hillenberg. Kinzer is up to 4th. 14-time Outlaw champion out close to the wall down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, Mark Kinzer puts the work through Williams-Durst 5M to the inside of Dave Blaney off of corner number 4. Side by side into turn number 1. Kinzer on the bottom of the speedway. Blaney working the cushion. Still side by side down the backstretch. Tremendous racing for second behind Sammy Swindell, with Mark Kinzer finally gaining the advantage. Now Mark Kinzer's turn to work the cushion in 1 and 2. Dave Blaney down to the inside, but can't make up any ground as the leaders approach lap traffic. 5 laps down now. Sammy Swindell out in front, goes to work on the lap car of Steve Seaver. Swindell up on the cushion, makes short work of Seaver. Mark Kinzer going to try to follow him around the 2B down into corner number 3. Dave Blaney still running third. Steve Kinzer up to 4th in the Quaker State number 11. Swindell working through lap traffic, moves around. Ed Lynch Jr. now tackles the 94 of Dale Blaney off of corner number 4. Mark Kinzer hanging on in traffic as well. Trapped behind Dale Blaney just a little bit off of corner number 2. Now moves to the top side in turns 3 and 4 in pursuit of race leader Sammy Swindell. Andy Hillenberg runs 5th. Jeff Swindell up to 6th. A good run for the Ford-powered 7TW. Sammy Swindell moves around the Mopar 75 of Paul McMahon. Mark Kinzer follows him very closely out of corner number 4 and now through 1 and 2. Laps ticking by quickly here at Eldora Speedway. 10 laps down. Craig Delansky trying to hold off Mark Kinzer. Delansky was a lap car, however. Mark Kinzer moves down to the bottom of the speedway, gets around the Elk River, Minnesota pilot. Dave Blaney following in the Viver in number 10. Steve Kinzer now closing in on the Buckeye Bullet as they battle for 3rd through corners number 1 and 2. Blaney still trying to get around Craig Delansky. Meanwhile, up in the front of the pack, Mark Kinzer is reeling in race leader Sammy Swindell. Steve Kinzer now on the bottom of the speedway. Dave Blaney working the top, tries to squeeze between the wall and Craig Delansky. Beautiful job of driving by the Cortland, Ohio chauffeur. Now Kinzer rolls into turns 1 and 2 on the outside of Craig Delansky. Up on the cushion goes the King of the Outlaws. Mark Kinzer working around the 1F of Dean Jacobs. Dave Blaney following him in the top 3 are very close through turns number 1 and 2. Mark Kinzer down on the bottom of the speedway now making a bid for the lead. Sammy Swindell goes to the bottom in 3 and 4. Kinzer working the middle of the speedway. Halfway point this time by 15 down, 15 to go. Mark Kinzer, trouble in turns 1 and 2. Steve Kinzer upside down very hard. Red flag will fly here at Eldora. 14-time Outlaw champion Steve Kinzer battling for 3rd. Caught the wall in turns 1 and 2 and is upside down. Looks like Kinzer moving around in the car. Safety crew on the scene here in turns number 1 and 2 at Eldora Speedway. Steve Kinzer out of the car and okay, but very disappointed as he makes the long walk back to the pits. 15 laps down and 15 laps to go, and we'll get ready for a restart. Single file restart at the cone on the back straightaway. Keep your eyes on the top 2. Mark Kinzer and Sammy Swindell were duking it out for the lead before the red flag flew. Mark Kinzer diamonds off the corner out of turn number 4 and challenges for the lead. The Buckeye Bullet right there as well. Blaney to the top side in 1 and 2 as Mark Kinzer makes a low move out of the corner. Great racing up in front of the pack here at Eldora Speedway. Mark Kinzer to the bottom in turns 3 and 4. Tries to take the lead from Sammy Swindell, but Swindell powers off the top of the corner. Mark Kinzer trying to diamond off the corner. The top 3, almost 3 wide entering turn number 3, and Mark Kinzer forges into the lead in turn number 3 and off of corner number 4. 17 laps down. Now the Buckeye Bullet races to the top of turns 1 and 2. Turns it hard to the left. Diamonds off the corner, but can't get around Swindell for 2nd. Mark Kinzer out in front in the Workman Williams Durst 5M. Battle for 2nd between Dave Blaney and Sammy Swindell. Blaney jumps the cushion just a little bit there in the middle of the corner, but powers out of the turn nicely. Gets a good run on Swindell into turn number 3. Now Blaney slides the Viver in number 10 up in front of Swindell. He takes over 2nd with 19 laps down. Jack Hodenschild moving forward in the Pennzoil number 22. Further back in the pack, he's battling with Paul McMahon and Greg Hodnett now. Hodenschild puts the Pennzoil 22 around the outside of the Mopar number 75. Kenny Jacobs working the Ashworth number 92, battling with Joey Saldana off of corner number 2. Saldana and Jacobs side by side down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, Mark Kinzer out in front of the Pennzoil World of Outlaws A-Main here at Eldora. The Workman Williams Durst 5M crew chief Carl Kinzer has that car hooked up and hauling here at Eldora this evening. Moves right in onto the tail of Joey Saldana, trying to put Saldana a lap down. Dave Blaney running 2nd and closing in on the race. leader. Kinzer with a nice inside move around Saldana. Dave Blaney diamonding off the corner in 1 and 2. That's a move that worked well for him back here at the Outlaw Show in June. Buckeye Bullet now closing up on the 96 Outlaw champion. Again, Blaney diamonds off the corner in 1 and 2. A good run down the back straightaway. Looks to the inside of Mark Kinzer. Thinks better of it as the lap car of Joe Gertie is in the way. Now Blaney moves to the outside of Gertie. 25 laps down, 5 to go, and the Buckeye Bullet races to the inside of Mark Kinzer. Kinzer nearly catches the wall entering turn number 3, and we have a new race leader. Dave Blaney making some fast time around the half mile here this evening as they work through lap traffic, taking over the lead from Mark Kinzer. Kinzer now trying to get by the lap car of Paul McMahon. Greg Hodnett coasting to a stop out of corner number 4. Looks like we're going to have a yellow flag here for the Selma Show 11H, 27 laps down. Tough break for the 1993 World of Outlaws Rookie of the Year. He was running in the top 10 before mechanical problems forced him to coast to a stop out of corner number 4. Restart with 3 laps to go here at Eldora Speedway. Dave Blaney powering out to the lead. Mark Kinzer trying to get around Paul McMahon, putting him another lap down. Sammy Swindell running 3rd now. Further back in the pack, Andy Hillenberg, Jack Hodenschild battling for 5th. Hodenschild working the top side of the speedway as Craig Delansky makes a little bit of contact with Donnie Schatz off the corner number 2. Hodenschild closing in on Andy Hillenberg now. Hodenschild working the cushion. 2 laps to go now. Hodenschild to the inside of Delansky, slides up in front of him. Delansky jumps the cushion and catches the wall upside down. Johnny Herrera gets a piece of Delansky around the top side, and the red flag will fly. Craig Delansky just jumped the cushion after Hodenschild went around him, caught the wall, and the Javelina 7 is upside down. Back on all 4s, and we see Delansky moving around. Looks like he's okay. Just 2 laps to go here at Eldora Speedway. No lap car separating the top 3. Dave Blaney puts the Viver in number 10 up onto the cushion. Mark Kinzer looks to the low side in turns 3 and 4. Kinzer on the bottom of 1 and 2. Blaney working the cushion to perfection. However, and Sammy Swindell closes the gap just a little bit on Mark Kinzer. A couple of cars stacking up further back in the field. Johnny Herrera back underway with a fresh top wing. Jack Hodenschild in the Pennzoil number 22, working turns number 1 and 2. Meanwhile, out in front is the Buckeye Bullet, Dave Blaney, racing around the cushion in turns number 3 and 4. Checkered flag falls. Dave Blaney picks up the Pennzoil World of Outlaws win here at Eldora. Mark Kinzer crosses the stripe 2nd. Finishing 3rd, Sammy Swindell, Andy Hillenberg 4th. Jack Hodenschild rounds out the top 5. Mark Kinzer congratulating winner Dave Blaney. Blaney finding something at the top of turns number 1 and 2 to get around the Wirtgen Williams Durst 5M to pick up the win here at Eldora on the night before the King's Royal. 14th annual King's Royal from the Eldora Speedway. Heat race number 1 finds Jeff Shepard and Danny Lasowski in the front row, Kevin Huntley and Frankie Kerr in row 2, Joey Saldana and fast timer Mark Kinzer in row 3, then Tim Engler, Greg Wilson, Bobby Allen, Nick Neighbor, James Fisher, Chris Fraley, and John Bankston. Shepard and Lasowski bring them down to the stripe. The green flag flies and the first heat race is underway. Jeff Shepard out to the early lead. Here comes Lasowski working the bottom side of the speedway. Joey Saldana on the inside, but Mark Kinzer's the man pulling through on the bottom of the track. Takes the lead going into turn number 3. The Wirtgen Williams Durst 5M is flying around the speedway already. Jeff Shepard holding 2nd, Danny Lasowski in 3rd. That's the final transfer spot. Remember, 3 cars to the A, 2nd 3 to the B, and 6th through 9th to the C main. Kevin Huntley battling it out with Nick Neighbor down on the bottom of the speedway. Here comes the 7C of Greg the Kid Wilson out around the top side. Joey Saldana with a move around Danny Lasowski in turns number 3 and 4. Saldana up on the cushion. The dude follows him, but Saldana is pulling away in the Balderson Dodge Stealth number 51. Saldana is up to the final transfer spot now as Mark Kinzer leads it with Jeff Shepard 2nd, Saldana running 3rd, then it's Danny Lasowski in 4th. Saldana tries the bottom side of turns number 3 and 4 as Mark Kinzer working the cushion in 1 and 2 with an 18 car length advantage. Working Williamshurst 5M up around the top side, now underneath of John Bankston, putting Bankston 1 lap down, slides up in front of Bankston in turns number 1 and 2, now goes to work on Nick Neighbor as Kevin Huntley slows exiting corner number 2. Mark Kinzer off the bottom of turn number 4, races down past the stripe. Puts Chris Fraley a lap down. Jeff Shepard still hanging on to second, the Upperco Maryland driver of the number 41 Jim Shuttlesworth car. Shepard drifts up to the cushion in turns number 3 and 4. Joey Saldana trying to reel him into the battle for second. Mark Kinzer all alone out in front of this heat race. Saldana on the bottom, Shepard on the top. Jeff Shepard holds on to second. White flag is waving. Mark Kinzer works his way down the back straightaway, tries the bottom this time in turns number 3 and 4. Off the final corner, Mark Kinzer wins heat race number 1. Jeff Shepard crosses the stripe in second. Joey Saldana grabs the third and final transfer spot. Danny Lasowski will come home fourth. Frankie Kerr runs fifth, then Tim Engler, Greg Wilson, Bobby Allen, Chris Fraley, Nick Neighbor, John Bankston, Kevin Huntley, and James Fisher. But Mark Kinzer goes from 6th to 1st in the first lap to pick up the win in heat race number 1. Dale Blaney and Johnny Herrera pacing the field through corners 3 and 4 for heat race number 2. Jason Dukes and Paul McMahon in row 2, and Kenny Jacobs and Gary Brazier in row number 3. Green flag flies. Herrera out to the early lead. Dale Blaney in second. Paul McMahon up to third in the row car number 75. Gary Brazier works around the bottom of the speedway. However, Brazier wants that third and final transfer spot. He races with Paul McMahon side by side into corner number 3. Brazier grabs the spot. It's Herrera out front. Dale Blaney, then Gary Brazier. Paul McMahon runs in fourth. Kenny Jacobs in the 5th spot now. Jacobs down to the bottom in turns number 1 and 2. Slide job on Paul McMahon for 4th. McMahon comes right back after him, goes low in 3 and 4, but Jacobs hangs on the cushion in 3 and 4. Kenny Jacobs in the Ashworth number 92. Up to 4th now, setting his sights on Gary Brazier for the final transfer spot as it's Herrera, Dale Blaney, and Gary Brazier, your top 3. Jason Dukes battling it out with Randy Kinzer back in the pack. That's for 5th and 6th. Pardon me, make that for 6th and 7th as Dukes races around the cushion, nearly tags the wall getting into turn number 3. Looks like a problem on the Franklin Power Products 14 of Randy Kinzer. Kinzer slowing coming off of corner number 4. And Johnny Herrera working lap traffic now on the Casey's General Stores 47. Herrera up on the cushion in turns number 1 and 2. Dale Blaney follows him in the Hughes wheel and axle number 94. And Gary Brazier, your second fastest qualifier here this evening, holding on to the third and final transfer spot. Kenny Jacobs trying to make up ground in the Ashworth 92. He's closing in on Gary Brazier. Looks like we're going to have a battle for the final transfer spot. Down the back straightaway, just a car length separating 3rd and 4th. Brazier a little bobble on the cushion, but Kenny Jacobs can catch him in 3 and 4. Brazier way up high, close to the wall in turns number 1 and 2. Kenny Jacobs with one last effort in turns 3 and 4, sliding up, but can't get in front of Gary Brazier. Johnny Herrera and Dale Blaney running 1-2 off of corner number 2 and down the back straightaway. Herrera in some heavy traffic. We see Art Wen in the 77 directly in front of the race leader. Off of corner number 4, it's Herrera, Dale Blaney, Gary Brazier, and Kenny Jacobs battling for the final transfer spot. Jacobs tries a slide job but can't pull it off. Checkered flag waving this time by off of corner number 4. Johnny Herrera picks up the win in heat race number 2. Dale Blaney holds on to second. Gary Brazier with a fine run grabs the final transfer spot. Kenny Jacobs has to settle for 4th. He'll go to the B main. Paul McMahon runs 5th, and it's Jason Dukes, Sarah Fisher, Rick Zeal, Art Wendt, Dwayne Leiber, Jerry Hart, Billy Jewell, and Randy Kinzer. King Johnny the 13th, the 1996 King's Royal Champion in the Casey's General Stores 47, picks up the win in heat race number 2. Heat race number 3 on the Speedway. Larry Neighbors on the pole alongside of Tim Allison in the 11X. Ed Lynch Jr. and Andy Hillenberg in row number 2. Dean Jacobs and Stevie Smith in row number 3. Tim Schaefer and Jeremy Minton make up row number 4. Then it's Andy McKisson, Bob Felmley, Brian Ellenberger, Terry Pletch, and Randy Fink. Green flag waving. Tim Allison jumps out to the early lead. Here comes Andy Hillenberg on the outside of Larry Neighbors for second. Ed Lynch Jr. on the bottom side of the Speedway wants to say something about that. Look at Stevie Smith work the outside of Larry Neighbors down the back straightaway. Stevie Smith moves up to 4th, challenging Ed Lynch Jr. now for the final transfer spot off of corner number 4. Neighbors looking to the inside of Dean Jacobs entering turn number 1, but can't pull off the move. Through turns 3 and 4, Tim Allison leads the field in the Mox Motorsports 11X. Andy Hillenberg second, Ed Lynch Jr. with the final transfer spot. Stevie Smith needs to get a move on in the Mac Tool Smart Racing Engines 19 if he wants to transfer directly to the A. Allison and Hillenberg working the top side of the Speedway. Ed Lynch with a little bobble coming off of turn number 4. Stevie Smith dives down to the inside in turns 1 and 2, slides up but can't pull the slide job off. Ed Lynch Jr. back up onto the cushion in 3 and 4. Stevie Smith follows him around. Dean Jacobs runs in 5th. And Hillenberg maybe closing a little bit of distance on race leader Tim Allison. Hillenberg dives to the bottom in turns number 3 and 4. He's not going to be able to pull off a pass there, though. Slides up, hits the cushion, and Allison maintains the lead. Stevie Smith still fighting with Ed Lynch Jr. for the final transfer spot to the A main. Smith and Lynch both very close to the wall entering turn number 3. Stevie Smith trying a slide job in turn number 4 and again cannot make the move work. Race leader Tim Allison encountering lap traffic. That's the 20 of Brian Ellenberger directly in front of him. Gets trapped behind Ellenberger. Will that allow Hillenberg to get by? No, off of corner number 4. Look at Stevie Smith work the very bottom of the Speedway. Gets around Ed Lynch Jr. for 3rd in the final transfer spot. Andy Hillenberg searching all over turns 3 and 4, trying to find a groove to work. Stevie Smith is up to 3rd. Ed Lynch Jr. running 4th. Dean Jacobs is back there in 5th. Now Hillenberg with the inside move in turn number 3, trying to get by Tim Allison, a lap car. Andy McKisson right in the way. Allison maybe bumps McKisson a little bit, but holds on to the lead. And now Stevie Smith closes it on Andy Hillenberg. Hillenberg dives down to the bottom of 3 and 4 one last time, but he can't make the pass. Tim Allison picks up the heat race win in the Valvoline number 11X. Hillenberg finishes 2nd. Stevie Smith holds on to 3rd. Dean Jacobs runs 4th. Ed Lynch Jr. settles for 5th. Larry Neighbors is 6th, followed by Tim Schaefer, Bob Felmley, Jeremy Minton, Andy McKisson, Brian Ellenberger, Terry Pletch, and Randy Fink. Former 360 Sprint Bandits champion Tim Allison picks up the win in the Mox Motorsports 11X. Heat race number 3 is now in the books. Heat race number 4 on the Speedway. Byron Reed holds down the pole with Van Gertley Jr. next to him. Lance Blevins and Terry McCarl in the 2nd row. Dave Blaney and Jack Hodenschild in row number 3. Gus Wasson and Dion Hindy in the 4th row. Raymond Shank, Dave Freed, Brian Paulus, Kent Walters, and Alan Schmidt round out the field. Byron Reed and Van Gertley Jr. side by side at the stripe. The green flag flies. Byron Reed out to the early lead. Terry McCarl making a move. Look at Jack Hodenschild in the Pennzoil 22 grab 4th. Dave Blaney is right behind him. Great battling throughout the field here in heat race number 4. Now Gurley alongside of Lance Blevins in the Citgo 21 slides out a little bit. That opens the door for the Wild Child. Hodenschild down to the bottom, slides out in front of Gurley. That's the final transfer spot Hodenschild has just gotten. Hodenschild not satisfied with 3rd, however, dives to the inside of the Citgo number 21, and Jack Hodenschild takes over 2nd. Dave Blaney on the move in the 5er and number 10, and the McCroskey 8-8 of Terry McCarl works his way around Van Gertley's DuPont number 3. Dave Blaney now with an inside-outside move, slides up, hits the cushion, takes the transfer spot away from Lance Blevins. Working through corners number 1 and 2, now down the back straightaway. Terry McCarl to the inside of Lance Blevins. McCarl on the move in the McCroskey number 8H. Into corners number 3 and 4 down the front straightaway. Byron Reed holds down the lead in the 5R. Encountering some lap traffic now, looks like Kent Walters directly in front of him. Reed works to the inside, now slides up and hits the cushion in 3 and 4. Jack Hodenschild closing ground quickly in the Pennzoil 22, and Dave Blaney is right on his tail. Blaney and Hodenschild, 2 Ohio masters here at the High Bank half mile. Lap traffic again right in front of race leader Byron Reed. Reed goes down to the inside to work through the traffic. Blaney and Hodenschild stay up on the top side. Hodenschild now off the cushion down to the inside of Byron Reed. He grabs the lead and Blaney follows him on the inside of the speedway. Blaney sliding up in front of Hodenschild, briefly takes the lead. Hodenschild right back on the inside. What a battle up in front of heat race number 4. Jack Hodenschild leads it. Dave Blaney running second, and Byron Reed now back to the third and final transfer spot. The Buckeye Bullet on the bottom side of the speedway, but can't slide up in front of the Wild Child. Hodenschild maintains his lead. White flag is waved one more time around the Eldora Speedway. Terry McCarl trying to close in on Byron Reed for the final transfer spot as they work their way through 3 and 4. McCarl down to the bottom side of the speedway. Hodenschild wins, Blaney second, and Terry McCarl with a nice move on the last lap picks up the final transfer spot. Byron Reed will finish in 4th. Van Gurley Jr. comes home 5th. Then it's Gus Wasson, Brian Paulus, Dion Hindy, Raymond Shank, and Brian Carlson. Former Kings Royal champion Jack Hodenschild in the Pennzoil number 22 picks up the win in heat race number 4. Listen to the crowd go wild for the Worcester, Ohio chauffeur. Crew chief Guy Forbrook doing a great job with the Pennzoil team in 1997. Heat race number 5 finds Joe Gertie alongside of Butch Schrader in row number 1. Jim Neer and Tyler Walker in the second row. Then it's Donnie Schatz and Steve Kinzer, Jeff Williams, Brian Carlson, Mike Bowling, Charlie Fisher, Chris Simon, Eddie Sloan, and Tom Jewell. Doug Clark waves the green flag. Steve Kinzer looking to the bottom of the speedway in the Quaker State number 11, trying to advance from 6th up to 1st. Can't pull it off. He's only up to 3rd right now. Charlie Fisher on the move in the 48. Tyler Walker in the intercept 35, trying to work his way around Butch Schrader in turns 3 and 4. Schrader holds on to the spot using the top side of the speedway. Tyler Walker down to the bottom. The 1996 National Sprint Car Pole Rookie of the Year can't get around Schrader in 1 and 2. Still working the bottom of the speedway in 3 and 4. Now gets around Schrader, and Donnie Schatz tries to follow him. Schatz in the Blue Beacon number 15. The battle for 6th. Schatz makes the move around Schrader in turns number 1 and 2. Meanwhile, out in front of the pack, it's the 3G of Joe Gertie, followed by 00 of Jim Neer and the Quaker State 11 of Steve Kinzer. Kinzer setting his sights on Jim Neer's 00. Neer, a former track champion at the KC Raceway in Chillicothe. Charlie Fisher in 4th. Tyler Walker runs 5th. Neither one right now will transfer to the A from the heat race. Only the top 3 go on to the big dance. Tyler Walker working the cushion in 3 and 4. Charlie Fisher, a former track record holder here at Eldora Speedway. Jim Neer still holds on to 2nd in front of Steve Kinzer. Joe Gertie out in front in the Redline Oil 3G. Now Steve Kinzer on the bottom of the speedway. A great fight in the bottom of turn number 1. Can't get around Neer, but he's closed up a lot of distance. Neer goes to the bottom in 3 and 4. Steve Kinzer stays toward the high side. Lap traffic in the way, and Steve Kinzer makes the pass. He takes 2nd place. Kinzer now closing in on race leader Joe Gertie. Look at the Quaker State 11 get forward, bite off of corner number 4, dives down to the inside in turn number 1, slides up in front of Gertie, and Steve Kinzer is the new leader. Kinzer working through the inside of lap traffic down the front straightaway. Meanwhile, Donnie Schatz gets around Charlie Fisher. That's the 5th spot. Schatz is up to, but Steve Kinzer pulling away in the Quaker State number 11. Off of corner number 4. Checkered flag wave. Steve Kinzer, your winner of heat race number 5. Joe Gertie comes home 2nd. Jim Neer grabs the 3rd and final transfer spot. Tyler Walker 4th. Donnie Schatz 5th. Charlie Fisher 6th. Then Butch Schrader, Mike Bowling, Jeff Williams, Chris Simon, Eddie Sloan, and Tom Jewell. Steve Kinzer, back from a vicious crash in turns number 1 and 2 last night, picks up the win in heat race number 5. Heat race number 6 on the Speedway. Steve Seaver and Danny Smith in row number 1. Keith Kaufman and Sammy Swindell in row number 2. Greg Hodnett and Jimmy Stinson in the 3rd row. Then Todd Kane, Chris Gurley, Danny Wood, Steve Bixler, and Keith Crabtree. Green flag flying. Danny Smith out to the early lead. Sammy Swindell up to second, dives down to the bottom in turns number 1 and 2. Tries to take the lead from Danny Smith. Smith drives around him on the outside. Keith Kaufman is up to 3rd in the final transfer spot. Greg Hodnett running 4th, and Steve Seaver back to 5th. Jimmy Stinson in car number 60, working the top side of the Speedway in 1 and 2, trying to catch up to Steve Seaver. But meanwhile, out in front of the pack, Danny Smith leads them. Little jockeying for position back there, exiting corner number 2. Jimmy Stinson leading Todd Kane through corners number 3 and 4 as the leaders start to pull away from the pack here. Stinson on the cushion. Kane follows him through turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway through 3 and 4. Battle for 6th and 7th. Jimmy Stinson holding on to 6th. Todd Kane running 7th. Out in front of the pack, it's Danny Smith in the Kiger Sunoco Nash Contractors number 4. Sammy Swindell closing in the Channel Lock Gambler number 1. Swindell takes a look to the bottom in turns number 1 and 2. Slides up but can't make the move work. Danny Smith holds on to the lead. Sammy Swindell in second. Now will try it again in turns 3 and 4. Trouble in turn number 4. Chris Gurley into the fence in the 4C. Sammy Swindell scrapes the fence. Nearly gets caught by Keith Kaufman there. Both Kaufman and Swindell keep their cars under power as Chris Gurley brings out a caution flag here in turn number 4. Chris Gurley's accident, hopefully not a sign of things to come as we see the full moon creeping up over the trees in turn number 2. Single file restart and green flag wave. Sammy Swindell looking to the bottom of Danny Smith in turn number 4. Can't pull off the move there, and Keith Kaufman closes in on the Channel Lock Gambler number 1. Kaufman now to the bottom in 1 and 2. Can't slide up in front of Swindell. The top 3 maintain their running positions. Smith, Swindell, and Kaufman. Greg Hodnett in 4th, looking to get around Kaufman for the final transfer spot. Sammy Swindell now wants to get around Danny Smith to pick up the win here in the final heat race. Swindell searching all over 3 and 4. Jumps the cushion just a little bit in the middle of the corners. Still holds on to second as Danny Smith works the cushion in 1 and 2. Sammy Swindell trying to be smooth around the top of 1 and 2, but the Channel Lock Gambler just a little twitchy. Danny Smith rolls off at corner number 4 with a 4-car length advantage. Swindell closes that up into turn number 1. The 2-time World of Outlaws champion working through the middle now in 3 and 4. Danny Smith jumps up to the cushion, catches a little bit of a rut in turn number 4. Smith maintains his lead down the front straightaway. Battle for the final transfer spot. Greg Hodnett trying to get around Keith Kaufman. They get very, very close in turn number 2. Kaufman still holds on to 3rd. Keith Kaufman in the United Express line number U2. Transfer spot in hand. Greg Hodnett trying to catch him as the white flag has waved here on Danny Smith. Smith puts the Kiger Sunoco number 4 on the cushion off of corner number 4, and Danny Smith wins the 6th and final heat race. Sammy Swindell second. Keith Kaufman holds on to the final transfer spot. Greg Hodnett crosses the stripe in 4th, followed by Steve Seaver, Jimmy Stinson, Todd Kane, Danny Wood, Steve Bixler, Keith Crabtree, Chris Gurley, and Jeff Swindell was a scratch scheduled to start in row number 2. Danny Smith in the Kiger Sunoco Nash Contractors number 4, your 6th and final heat race winner here at Eldora, 14th annual Kings Royal. C-Main on the Speedway at Eldora, 14th annual Kings Royal. Only the top 5 move on to the B. Lineup looks like this. Tim Engler and Dwayne Leiber in row number 1. Gus Wasson and Jeff Williams in the 2nd row. Todd Kane alongside Greg Wilson in row number 3. Then it's Sarah Fisher and Jeremy Minton. Dion Hindy and Brian Carlson. Jimmy Stinson and Bobby Allen in row number 6. Slow pace coming to the stripe with the green flag flies. Dwayne Leiber out to the early lead. Todd Kane in 2nd. Gus Wasson up to 3rd, but Tim Engler on the bottom of the Speedway making a move. Engler trying to get up to 2nd place down the back straightaway. Kane holds on to 2nd, now makes the inside move on Leiber in turns 3 and 4. Todd Kane takes the lead in the Napa number 99. Dwayne Leiber holds 2nd. Tim Engler 3rd. Gus Wasson 4th, and Dion Hindy up to 5th. Bobby Allen making some progress on the bottom of the speedway. Scruffy working the bottom as he always does here at Eldora. Meanwhile, back up front, Tim Engler trying to grab second from Dwayne Liber. Bobby Allen in the Willows Bar and Grill 1A making progress on the bottom. Goes around the 9 of Sarah Fisher exiting corner number 2. Engler and Liber now battling it out for second. Here comes Gus Wasson to join the fray. Wasson puts the Chris Hoyles Motorsports number 23 up along the cushion. Engler working the bottom, trying to get around Liber. Wasson with a nice drive off of corner number 2, dives down to the inside of Tim Engler in turns 3 and 4. Second, third, and fourth going at it here at Eldora. Engler now on the bottom, nearly into the concrete on the inside of the speedway. Can't make the pass of Wasson there. Wasson with a nice move down the back straightaway. Inside, outside move on Dwayne Liber, and Gus Wasson moves up to second. Engler gets sideways coming out of corner number 4. That allows Dion Hindi to grab fourth. Hindi now alongside of Dwayne Liber in turn number 2, nearly 3 wide at the entrance to the back straightaway. Engler coming right back on the bottom side of the speedway. The Princeton, Indiana driver slides up in front of Dwayne Liber. Dion Hindi trying to make a move as well. Hindi is up to fourth. Pennzoil World of Outlaws Rookie of the Year contender Dion Hindi working the cushion. Now Tim Engler on the bottom. Hindi with a nice drive off of corner number 4. Todd Kane way out in front. Race leader entering some lap traffic here. Todd Kane going to work on Raymond Shank, trying to put Shank a lap down. Kane moves to the inside in corners number 1 and 2. Gus Wasson still holding on to second now as Kane races through turns 3 and 4. Second place runner Gus Wasson in the Mother's Car Wax and Polishes number 23. Wasson bobbles a little bit on the cushion there exiting turn number 2. Powell, Ohio's Todd Kane racing down past the start-finish line one more time. More than a straightaway advantage over second place Gus Wasson. Wasson now dives down to the bottom of turns 3 and 4. He's going to try to get by Raymond Shank. White flag waves for race leader Todd Kane. He's going to work on Brian Carlson, trying to put Carlson a lap down before the checkered flag falls. Looks like Todd Kane's going to be moving on to the B main this evening in the Napa number 99. Down to the inside of Carlson off of corner number 4. Todd Kane picks up the win in the C main. Gus Wasson's going to come across the stripe in second. Dion Hindi grabs third. Tim Engler finishes fourth, in the fifth and final transfer spot goes to the Willows Bar and Grill number 1A of Bobby Allen. Jimmy Stinson finishes 6th, Sarah Fisher 7th. Then it's Dwayne Liber, Rick Zeal, Danny Wood, Greg Wilson, Nick Neighbor, Mike Bowling, Brian Carlson, Raymond Shank, Andy McKisson, Jeremy Mitten, and Jeff Williams. And Todd Kane, the C-Main winner at the 14th Annual Kings Royal. Greg Hodnett and Donnie Schatz pace the field through 3 and 4. B-main action about to come your way. Only the top 4 move on to the A. Doug Clark waves the green flag. Greg Hodnett jumps out to the early lead with Donnie Schatz settling into second. Dean Jacobs on the bottom of the speedway trying to get up to third. Meanwhile, great battles throughout the pack. Kenny Jacobs on the move now gets around Donnie Schatz. He takes over second in turns number 3 and 4. Dean Jacobs runs third. Frankie Kerr is up to fourth, and Tyler Walker runs fifth in the air, set 35. Frankie Kerr getting around Dean Jacobs in turns 1 and 2. Kerr using the top side. Tyler Walker trying to move in on Dean Jacobs in turns 3 and 4, but Jacobs cuts off his line, goes down to the bottom, now drifts out to the cushion. Tyler Walker jumps the cushion just a little bit, and that allows Paul McMahon to close in the Mopar number 75. McMahon down to the bottom of turns number 1 and 2, slides up to the cushion and takes the spot away from Tyler Walker. A couple of California natives battling it out here at Eldora Speedway. Tyler Walker again barely over the cushion in turn 3 and 4. Ed Lynch Jr. meanwhile closing in on Jeff Swindell. Jeff Swindell puts the Ford-powered sprint car down to the bottom of turns number 3 and 4. Drifts up and catches the cushion and nearly the wall exiting turn number 4. Out in front of the pack, it's Greg Hodnett in the Selma Show Kelly and Associates Radon number 11H. Hodnett now beginning to work some lap traffic. Kenny Jacobs runs second in the Ashworth number 92. Jacobs flying around the top side of 1 and 2, down the back straightaway, right back on the top in 3 and 4. Donnie Schatz running third, and right now the fourth and final transfer spot belongs to the Schoaf Motorsports 23S of Frankie Kerr. Battle for 6th and 7th here on the screen. Paul McMahon out on the cushion in turns number 1 and 2. Meanwhile, race leader Greg Hodnett putting Butch Schroeder a lap down in turns 1 and 2, but Schroeder powers away on the cushion. Hodnett way up high between 3 and 4. Drives off the top of turn number 4. Now dives down to the inside of Schroeder in turns 1 and 2. Slides up and takes the line away. Schroeder goes a lap down. Kenny Jacobs holding on to second. Donnie Schatz third and Frankie Kerr fourth. Dean Jacobs runs fifth, battling with Frankie Kerr for the final transfer spot. Larry Neighbors directly in front of second place running Donnie Schatz. Now Schatz slides down to the inside of the speedway. Meanwhile, Tyler Walker off the pace down the front straightaway. Tyler Walker with a problem in the air set number 35. He's dropped off the pace. Greg Hodnett on the move down the back straightaway. Working lap traffic in turns 3 and 4. Inside, outside maneuvers all the way. Hodnett with a huge lead now, but the battle for the final transfer spot heats up between Frankie Kerr and Dean Jacobs. Couple of regulars with the Frigidaire All-Stars battling it out for a final transfer spot into the 14th annual Kings Royal here at Eldora Speedway. Race leader Greg Hodnett works off the corner number 4, down past the start-finish line. Up to the cushion in 1 and 2 for the 1993 World of Outlaws Rookie of the Year. Looks like Hodnett searching a little bit at the entrance of turn number 3, trying to find the fastest line around the corner. White flag waves for Greg Hodnett as he puts Lance Blevins 1 lap down in turns number 1 and 2. Greg Hodnett out of Memphis, Tennessee, drives off the cushion in turn number 4 and picks up the win in the B main. He'll go on to the A. Kenny Jacobs holds on to second. Donnie Schatz will finish third, and Frankie Kerr grabs the fourth and final transfer spot. Dean Jacobs finishes fifth. Paul McMahon sixth. Jeff Swindell comes home seventh, followed by Ed Lynch Jr., Todd Kane, Kevin Huntley, Tyler Walker, Danny Lasowski, Lance Blevins, Steve Seaver, Van Gurley Jr., then it's Dion Hindy, Butch Schrader, Larry Neighbors, Gus Wasson, Bobby Allen, Jason Dukes, and Tim Engler. Greg Hodnett, one of the Memphis Kelly gang. Kelly and Associates sponsoring several Memphis drivers, including the winner of the B main at the 14th annual Kings Royal. 26 cars on the high-banked half-mile at Eldora Speedway. The 14th annual Kings Royal, $50,000 going home with the winner as the Pennzoil World of Outlaws salute the fans with a 4-wide parade lap. Sammy Swindell will start on the pole in the Channel Lock Gambler number 1. Alongside of him, 14-time World of Outlaw champion Steve Kinzer in the Quaker State number 11. Jack Hodenschild in 22. Stevie Smith in the 19 in row number 2. Gary Brazier, surprise second fastest qualifier here this evening, will start 5th alongside the 5M of Mark Kinzer. Joey Saldana starts 7th. Kenny Jacobs from the 8th spot. Dave Blaney comes from 9th, and Donnie Schatz starts 10th. Row number 6 finds Greg Hodnett alongside Frankie Kerr. Then it's Andy Hillenberg and Terry McCarl in row number 7. Jim Neer and Keith Kaufman in row number 8. Inside of row number 9, last year's champion Johnny Herrera alongside of Tim Allison. Then it's Danny Smith and Jeff Shepard, Dale Blaney and Joe Gertie, Dean Jacobs and Paul McMahon, and Danny Lasowski and Jeff Swindell in row number 13. Swindell and Kinzer pick up the pace now, entering turn number 3. Green flag about to fly for 40 laps of racing action. Kinzer jumps out to the early lead. Swindell holds second. Stevie Smith is up to third. Jack Hodenschild battling up there on the inside of the speedway. Sammy Swindell right on Steve Kinzer's tail. Swindell down to the bottom in 3 and 4. Slides up in front of the King of the Outlaws. Steve Kinzer drives off the bottom of the 3 and 4 to maintain the lead. Through turns 1 and 2 now. Trouble. Stevie Smith is into the wall in turn number 2. Greg Hodnett involved also. Hodnett Hodnett is upside down in the Selma Shell 11H, and the red flag flies. Stevie Smith caught the concrete in turn number 2. Greg Hodnett came along and got involved after the fact, upside down. Hodnett is moving around in the car, however, but heavy damage to the Selma Shell Kelly and Associates 11H. Safety crew over there with the Mac Tools Smart Racing Engines number 19 is Stevie Smith. Stevie Smith still in the car. Stevie Smith and Greg Hodnett both okay after a scary-looking accident in turn number 2. 1 lap down, 39 more to go as we get set to go with a single-file restart. Steve Kinzer out in front of the field. Sammy Swindell second, Jack Hodenschild third, and Mark Kinzer fourth as the green flag waves. Hodenschild takes a look to the bottom of Sammy Swindell in turns 3 and 4, thinks better of it, and pulls back up in line. King Johnny the 13th, Johnny Herrera on the move in the Casey's General Stores 47, uses the low groove to pass Joey Saldana in turns 1 and 2. Johnny Schatz battling with Gary Brazier. Dave Blaney goes around the outside of Schatz and the Viver in number 10 in turns 3 and 4. The Buckeye Bullet on the move, using the top slide at turns 1 and 2. Now trying to catch up with Gary Brazier down the back straightaway. Blaney down to the inside in 3 and 4. Slides up in front of Brazier. Brazier tries to turn it underneath him, and Brazier holds on off the corner. Gary Brazier and Dave Blaney battling it out for 5th. Meanwhile, up in front of the pack, Steve Kinzer and Sammy Swindell. Jack Hodenschild riding in 3rd. Terry McCarl on the move in the McCroskey Chevrolet number 88. McCarl up to the top side in turns number 1 and 2. Races around the 00 of Jim Neer. Race leader Steve Kinzer, meanwhile, entering lap traffic, tries to put the Gold Eagle Ford-powered 7TW of Jeff Swindell a lap down. Kinzer bouncing around on the cushion at the top of turns number 3 and 4. Joe Gertie about to go a lap down as well to the King of the Outlaws. Heavy traffic looms in front of the race leader now as he works his way off of corner number 2 and down the back straightaway. Kinzer still battling with Joe Gertie. Trouble right in front of the leader, Dean Jacobs, and nearly collects Sammy Swindell as well. The Frigidaire number 1F catching the concrete in turns number 3 and 4. Jacobs back on the gas now. Now slows down the front straightaway. He's already gone a lap down, stopping on the inside of the front chute. That'll bring out a caution flag, and Dean Jacobs in the Frigidaire number 1F with major problems here after going a lap down, catching the wall in turn number 3. 7 laps down on the field. Steve Kinzer out in front. Sammy Swindell second. Jack Hodenschild third. Mark Kinzer runs fourth as Steve Kinzer jumps on the loud pedal down the back straightaway. Jack Hodenschild moves to the outside of Jeff Swindell to try to put Swindell a lap down, but Mark Kinzer comes on the inside in the Workin-Williams Durst 5M. Mark Kinzer now up to 3rd. Hodenschild crossed up in turn number 2, gets back on it, but Gary Brazier is closed in on him. And meanwhile, Dave Blaney battling with Brazier back in the pack. Johnny Herrera on the move, the 1996 Kings Royal champion in the Casey's General Stores 47. Looks to the inside of Dave Blaney, and they're 3 wide coming out of turn number 2. Herrera now on the inside of turns 3 and 4, works his way around the Buckeye Bullet in the Viver in number 10, and Herrera gains the spot now, looks to the inside of Brazier in turns number 1 and 2. The Tempe, Arizona pilot on the move at Eldora Speedway this evening. 10 laps down, 30 more remain as Dave Blaney sets to work on the Australian Gary Brazier. Jeff Swindell with a problem in the Gold Eagle 7TW, way off the pace. Terry McCarl continuing his climb in the McCroskey Chevrolet 8H, working on the 11X, the Mox Valvoline number 11X of Tim Allison. Off of corner number 4, the Quaker State number 11, Steve Kinzer in the lead. Lap traffic ahead, the 41 of Jeff Shepard and the 3G of Joe Gertie fall a lap down to the race leader. Kinzer nearly over the cushion and into the wall in turn number 3. Right back on the throttle out of corner number 4. Steve Kinzer looking to bounce back from a serious accident last night and put the Quaker State number 11 into victory lane and pick up $50,000 here at the Kings Royal. Sammy Swindell still holding second spot down in the Channel Lock Gambler number 1. Kinser a little loose coming off of corner number 2. Sammy Swindell right there. A battle for third and fourth between Mark Kinser and Jack Hodenschild. Hodenschild on the top side of the speedway trying to catch up with Mark Kinser as we've got 15 laps down. Sammy Swindell now closing in on Steve Kinser in lap traffic. Dale Blaney, the car separating the top two. Mark Kinser trouble into the wall in turn number 4. Mark Kinser in the Wortgen-Williams-Durst 5M was battling Jack Hodenschild for third. Looks like Kinser's trying to signal. He wants a yellow flag. Mark running slowly into corner number 1 and the yellow light is on. Tough break for the 1996 World of Outlaws champion seeking his first ever King's Royal victory. A flat right rear tire on that Maxim chassis. 16 laps down on the field. Steve Kinser out in front. 2 lap cars between him and second place running Sammy Swindell as the green flag flies. Sammy Swindell sets his sights on his brother Jeff to try to put Jeff a lap down. Meanwhile, Jack Hodenschild comes up to battle Sammy for second and third. Johnny Herrera's on the move. He's up to fourth. Gary Brazier running fifth. Donnie Schatz and Dave Blaney battling for sixth and seventh. Keith Kaufman on the move in the U2. Kaufman looks to the inside of Blaney, who pulls away from Donnie Schatz down the back straightaway after getting good bite through the middle of the speedway. Blaney drifts up, nearly goes over the cushion in turns number 3 and 4. Andy Hillenberg moving forward in the STP Deuce. Kaufman on the bottom of the speedway now battling it up, trying to get into the top 5. Tim Allison drifts to the top of the speedway. Joey Saldana goes by him in the Balderson Dodge number 51. Danny Lasowski moving forward in the Conwest Freight Express number 1W. And Terry McCarl working that McCroskey number 8H around the High Bank half mile. Kenny Jacobs and Danny Smith battling it out in turns number 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway they go. Jacobs up on top, and Dean Jacobs nearly loses it on the inside of turns number 3 and 4 as we reach the halfway point. Steve Kinser in control. Look at third place, Jack Hodenschild. Side panel on his top wing folded over. It's going to be very difficult for the Wild Child to maintain control here with the wing looking like that. Drifts up to the top of turn number 2, nearly gets into the wall. Steve Kinser nearly half a lap ahead of Sammy Swindell and starts to work lap traffic. That's the Mopar number 75 of Paul McMahon directly in front of the King of the Outlaws. Jeff Shepard slowing in the Shuttlesworth 41 down the back straightaway. Steve Kinser down to the bottom of 3 and 4. Slides up in front of Paul McMahon to put McMahon a lap down, but McMahon drives off the corner on the bottom. Jack Hodenschild still with that wing problem on the Pennzoil number 22. He's fighting to maintain control of that Maxim chassis around the speedway. Steve Kinser still in heavy lap traffic in the Quaker State number 11. Yellow flag, red flag. Donnie Schatz is upside down off of corner number 2. Danny Lasowski bringing the Conwest Freight Express number 1W to a stop as well. Schatz was running in the top 10. Looks like a badly damaged car over there. Just past the halfway point, 22 laps down. New top wing on Jack Hodenschild's car, replaced under the red flag for Donnie Schatz, who was okay after a violent flip off of turn number 2. Hodenschild now looking to the inside of Sammy Swindell, but Johnny Herrera comes right up on the inside of Hodenschild. Hodenschild and Herrera side by side off of corner number 2, battle for third place on the speedway. Hodenschild down to the bottom of the track, now drifts up to try to catch the cushion, exiting the corner. Johnny Herrera driving off the middle of the corner, but can't make up any ground. Dale Blaney slowing in the Hughes wheel and axle number 94 down the front stretch. Blaney's going to pull it back into the pit area. We'll stay green here. Keith Kaufman doing battle with Joey Saldana back in the pack. Andy Hillenberg trying to put Joe Gertie a lap down. Hillenberg on the move in the STP John Christner Trucking Deuce. Johnny Herrera running fourth. Gary Brazier back in fifth as race leader Steve Kinser completes lap number 25. Dave Blaney, Andy Hillenberg, Joe Gertie hanging in there, but remember, he's one lap down. Keith Kaufman is the next car in line behind Andy Hillenberg. Tim Allison and Keith Kaufman battling it out now down the back straightaway. Kaufman working the very bottom of the speedway. Allison up on the cushion. Terry McCarl right behind Allison, and McCarl nearly caught the wall right between 3 and 4. Kaufman and Allison side by side off of corner 2 and down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Terry McCarl working the cushion now. Dives off the bottom of the corner, catches up with Keith Kaufman. McCarl trying to split Allison and Kaufman in turns 3 and 4. Can't make the move there. now, trying to take fifth away from Gary Brazier. Hillenberg slides to the bottom, drifts up to the top of the Speedway, and the STP deuces into fifth. 3 wide off of corner number 4. Joe Gertie, the lap car in the middle of the sandwich between Keith Kaufman and Kerry McCarl. Tim Allison still on the top side of the Speedway in front of both McCarl and Kaufman. Kenny Jacobs moving forward in the Ashworth number 92 as well. Lots of close racing here back in the pack as Steve Kinzer continues to lead the 14th annual Kings Royal. 10 laps to go now. Steve Kinzer working the cushion in turns number 1 and 2 in the Quaker State number 11. King of the Outlaws trying to put Danny Lasowski a lap down in the Conwest Freight Express 1W. Slides around Dean Jacobs, who still works the bottom of the Speedway. Jacobs has gone 2 laps down. Now Steve nearly bumps the wall coming off of corner number 2. This time toward the middle of 3 and 4, drifts up, catches the cushion there, and again right out of the corner. Looks like Steve's got some handling problems in that Maxim chassis, but he's still out in front. Look how loose that car is exiting corner number 2. Down the back straightaway, trying to put Danny Smith and Paul McMahon a lap down. Kinzer works the bottom, drifts up, comes out of the corner behind Danny Smith. Looks like Sammy Swindell closing in on race leader Steve Kinzer as Kinzer is in heavy traffic now right behind Frankie Kerr. Drifts up to the top of the Speedway and Sammy Swindell has cut the lead down dramatically. Sammy Swindell closing in here in the final stages of the 14th annual Kings Royal. Steve Kinzer having all kinds of problems lapping Danny Smith and Danny Lasowski. Now splits the 2 in turns 3 and 4 in a great maneuver for the race leader. 5 to go. Jack Hodenschild gets around Sammy Swindell and the Wild Child is up to second. Hodenschild moving forward rapidly, gets around Danny Smith with no problem entering turns number 3 and 4. Steve Kinzer with an 8-car length advantage as he works through turns 1 and 2. Kinzer still trying to put McMahon a lap down. 2 laps down for Paul McMahon, and Kinzer bumps the cushion again hard, exiting corner number 4. Jack Hodenschild closing in the Pennzoil number 22. Hodenschild has cut the lead, but he needs to get up and go if he's got any chance of winning the Kings Royal here this evening. Close racing with Paul McMahon. McMahon a lap car. 2 laps to go here now. Steve Kinzer right behind the 00 of Jim Neer. Down to the bottom of turns number 3 and 4. Slides up, hits the cushion. White flag is waving. Steve Kinzer a half-mile away from $50,000. Hodenschild doing everything he can to catch the King of the Outlaws, but the Quaker State number 11 is very strong. Just a couple of lap cars in his way. Off of corner number 4, and Steve Kinzer is a Kings Royal champion for the 4th time. Jack Hodenschild crosses the stripe in 2nd. Sammy Swindell 3rd. Andy Hillenberg with a nice run up to 4th in the late stages of the race, and defending champion Johnny Herrera rounds out the top 5. A great job by Scott Kirkin and Todd Seitz, the rest of the Quaker State crew. They rebuilt this car. This is actually a new car. A vicious accident last night off of corner number 2. And Steve Kinzer, running a car designed to run on the mile, picks up his 4th Kings Royal victory, and Jack Hodenschild congratulates the winner.
I actually want to thank Maxim Chassis. They put some good cars under us, and our major sponsor with Quaker State Oil, Franklin Power Products. Mike Jarvis has been behind me and Randy and my dad and a lot of us for a long time, and I really want to thank him too. And Goodyear Tires, Pro Shocks, just everybody's has helped us on this car. They all know who they are.
Just a second. Wait a minute. How's that?
I want to give him cigarettes up.
Steve, this is your 4th one, and you've been in every one of them, all 14. I think I counted this as your 9th time to be in the top 5 of the Kings Royal. And I'll tell you what, your name's in lights, young man.
Well, I tell you, every year they don't get no easier, I can tell you that. As if you noticed.
Is it the cigarettes?
I think it's just a little dust and dirt. There's a lot of dust blowing out there, and we get a lot of exhaust fumes on these tracks when they're down in a hole like this too. So just a lot of years of dirt and exhaust fumes get after you. Well,
Wanted to ask you about last night. I know you don't want me to, and you threatened me earlier if I asked you that you'd hurt me. Somebody told me you were a championship wrestler in high school, but I was a track star, so, you know, I don't think you're going to catch me. Last night, I know on about lap 15, you got upside down over here in turn 1 and 2. Did that destroy the race car? Did you bring the new one out tonight? And what'd you get, over the hump?
Well, what I did is the lap before that, I got up there and got my right rear above that stuff, and it sort of went through there pretty good, and I ran in there the next time, and I'd knocked all my tear-offs off of my helmet and was covered up and got in a little bit low and just hooked a rut there, and it just threw the front end over and just hit the wall wide open.
Was that a new car tonight?
No, I'd ran this car. Actually, I ran it here the last time we ran here before last night, and we built this car for the mile track at Springfield, and wasn't planning on running it, but we wasn't planning on crashing last night, so yeah, it was a little bit of a handful tonight. It kept the frame rails are down pretty low on it, but kept her in front. That's all counts.
That's all counts. You know, I noticed tonight you kind of like turn 4 wall there, didn't you? Didn't you like to put that right rear against that wall?
Well, you know, everybody was up there running. It's just we had a handful. It was a tough race up there. I said to somebody, stretch this crown out. It's don't fit. It's a little big. Blaney must have had it on or something.
It's been a while since a big win for you.
Well, you know, it's pretty tough right now, and the big wins come between it, and right now is when all the big races are coming up, and this is when you got to start running good. Everything went good tonight, just the opposite as it did the night before, but I tell you, anytime you win in big races, you're happy. I can tell you that no matter how many of them you've won.
Steve, you were up around the top. The racetrack was very high, kind of banging off the wall a couple of times. Did that make you think about what happened last night?
Well, actually, the track was a little closer to the wall, so it's not like it had some rough spots on down the wall. When it catches those things and throws you up the wall, you got a little speed to hit them, and here you're already there, so you just sort of glance off of them and go on. It's not quite as bad. And you know, as many races I've run, all the earlier races, Eldora, this is the way I'm used to running Eldora, right against the wall, the way it is tonight, and all through the 80s and stuff. That's the way this racetrack was, and that's the way I like to run it. I like it when they move the cushion right on the fence, and that's where you got to run.
Steve, you're in a very close battle at the top of the point standings now. You fell from the points lead back to 4th last night after the crash. Now you're back up to 2nd. Does being able to lose points like that from 1st to 4th make you think about taking as many chances out on the Speedway? Does it affect your driving style?
Well, I've won this thing 14 times. I'm not too much worried about points right now. I just want to win some races and know that we're one of the cars to outrun every night. And if you can be in that situation, the points will come. Right now, it's going to be pretty close all the way out because, you know, the 4 or 5 cars are running in the 4 or 5 spots, and they're going to continue running that the rest of the year consistently right there. So it's going to keep a pretty tight point race all throughout the rest of the year. And if it comes, I'd like to win one by being my own car owner. That would be nice. We've won the Kings Royal as a car owner, and I've won a historical big one, and Knoxville as a car owner, and all the big races. So it'd be nice to have a World of Outlaw points title as a car owner, but we'll see what happens.
Steve, this is the start of a season with a lot of big races coming up. You've got the Don Martin Memorial there, and then the big one back here, and then the Knoxville Nationals. Is this the way you need to start off the big race season?
Well, it certainly don't hurt anything. You got to, you know, you get one underneath your belt. It takes a little pressure off of you, but like you said, all the big races are be coming up here right now through this month and through August, and actually through the year. There's some good paying races out east at Williams Grove, and like you said, at Lernerville, and the second half of the season is always where the money's at. So that's where if you want to make the money, that's where you got to be running good at, and that's, let's hope we pick a pace up just a little bit. But nobody's really got down and quit. We're right there. I've made a lot of mistakes, but we got a pretty good race car.
Steve, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.